Okay, get this. Imagine an F-16 fighter jet pulling off these completely impossible maneuvers in a high-speed dogfight, but there's nobody in the cockpit. Now switch gears. Picture a cockroach just scurrying through the rubble of a collapsed building, and it's carrying a tiny camera on its back, being controlled by a soldier miles away. This isn't science fiction, folks. This is the new business of war.
I mean, you've got these two wild extremes, right? On one hand, you have the absolute pinnacle of clean, high-tech engineering, an AI that can fly a jet. And on the other, you have the gritty, organic, and honestly kind of creepy world of bioengineered surveillance. It's these two ideas together that really paint a picture of the strange new reality of military tech.
So you have to ask yourself, are we watching some summer blockbuster, or are we looking at the actual, real-deal tools of modern warfare? Well, today we're going to find out. We are going to dive straight into the source material and see what's really going on.
All right, so let's get into it. To really wrap our heads around where all this is going, we got to take a quick look back at where we've been. And it turns out the idea of using, nature and whatever weird new tools you can find in a conflict, that idea is as old as conflict itself.
Yeah, the methods might seem a little primitive now, but the strategy, it's ancient. We're talking about early humans using swarms of bees to literally flush enemies out of caves. Or go back to 600 BC, when the Athenians poisoned a river supply with toxic plants. There's the infamous use of plague-infected fleas as a weapon in the 14th century. And hey, even the very first military spy balloons went up way back in 1794. The tools change, but the thinking, it's been around forever.
Okay, so let's rocket forward from those early days to the absolute bleeding edge of technology today, teaching a machine the incredibly complex, split-second art of an aerial dogfight.
And look, this isn't some top-secret project hidden away in a bunker somewhere. It's a real, public program from DARPA, the U.S. military's research agency. It's called the Air Combat Evolution Program, or ACE, and its goals are super clear. 1. Automate air combat. And 2, and this is almost more important, figure out how to get human pilots to actually trust their new AI wingman.
And we're not just talking about computer simulations anymore. In 2024, this actually happened. A real F-16, flown entirely by an AI, went head-to-head with a highly skilled human pilot in a real-world dogfight. This was a huge moment, proving that this whole concept is not just possible, it's here.
So, how are they pulling this off? Well, the ACE program has a pretty clear game plan. First, you train the AI in these unbelievably complex simulations, over and over. Second, you take that AI and you integrate it into the hardware of a real fighter jet. And third, and this is the part that changes everything, you completely reinvent what the human pilot's job is.
And this leads to a really cool way of thinking about the pilot's new role. The human isn't the lone wolf ace in the cockpit anymore. Nope. They become a battle manager. Think of it like a football coach on the sidelines, calling the plays and directing a whole team of these autonomous aircraft. It's a fundamental shift in what it even means to be a pilot.
Okay, let's pivot. We're going to leave the clean, cold skies of AI combat and get right down to the ground, like way down. We're about to explore the frankly mind-blowing world of hijacking the nervous systems of living creatures to use them for spying.
And yes, it is exactly as wild as it sounds. Germany is actively looking into using live, cyborg cockroaches. There's a company called Swarm Biotactics that has developed this method where they outfit these insects with these tiny little backpacks. These backpacks send electrical pulses straight to their nervous systems, basically giving an operator a joystick to steer the cockroach wherever they want it to go.
But why cockroaches? I know, it sounds bizarre, but from a practical standpoint, it's genius. They're tiny, they're unbelievably durable. They can survive almost anything. They can get through disaster rubble in ways no robot ever could. Plus, they don't need a battery to move, and they can still carry a payload of up to 3 grams, which is more than enough for a tiny camera or a sensor. They are basically nature's perfect little all-terrain vehicle.
So, we've got these incredible and kind of terrifying new technologies, from AI jets to insect spies. But the next big question is, who's actually building them? And this brings us to the new arms race, which, it turns out, isn't being fought by the usual suspects. It's being driven by a whole wave of startups.
And this whole shift really boils down to a clash of two very different ways of doing things. On one side, you've got your legacy defense contractors. Think of the F-35 fighter jet program. That thing started way back in 1995. These are massive, slow, incredibly expensive projects. And on the other side, you've got these new defense startups. They're agile, they're funded by venture capital, and they can develop and deploy new tech in a fraction of the time.
And this isn't just a theory, right? The money tells the whole story. If you look at investment in European defense startups, it shot up 5-fold from 2021 to 2024 compared to the 3 years before. Recent global conflicts, especially the war in Ukraine, were a massive catalyst. The battlefield basically became a real-world laboratory for all these new companies.
And if you want to put a single number on the sheer scale of this whole transformation, just think about this: $35 billion. That's the projected size of the global market for military systems that use AI by the year 2028. This isn't some small niche corner of the industry anymore. It is rapidly becoming the future.
So, let's zoom out a bit. With all this new technology and all this new money flooding into the system, what does the future of combat actually look like? Well, it brings incredible new capabilities for sure, but it also brings brand new threats and some very, very difficult questions we have to answer.
So, what's really changing on the battlefield? Well, for one, military spending is shifting away from people and towards AI and autonomous systems. And adopting AI isn't just a small improvement. NATO exercises have shown it can increase the speed and accuracy of decision-making by up to 40%. It also levels the playing field, meaning smaller nations can get a real technological edge. Suddenly, a country's geopolitical influence is directly tied to how innovative it is.
But there's a huge flip side to all this interconnected tech: a massive vulnerability. More software just means more digital doors for hackers to try and kick down. That's exactly why the U.S. Department of Defense reported a staggering 35% rise in attempted cyber intrusions on its critical infrastructure in just 2 years. You gotta remember, every smart weapon is also a smart target.
And all of this brings us to the final and maybe the most haunting question that sits underneath all this incredible technology. From the AI pilot making a split-second decision at twice the speed of sound to the operator guiding an insect through a secret facility, as we empower machines to make more and more of these life-or-death decisions, you have to ask, who is truly in control?